Hey there guys, Matthew here from Heretics Reviews and welcome to this week's episode of Matthew Presents. And yes, I have just recovered from watching Time in the Rani on Wednesday. What a horrible experience that was. But I'm here now and today it's going to be episode 4 of my best possible series. So sit back and enjoy. So then guys, today we're going to be talking about the episode 4s, and there's not a bad lineup of episodes today, a few that are quite good, a few that are very good, and then one that is just goddamn awful, which I think you all know what episode I'm referring to. But yes, the pattern that I've noticed with the episode 4s is, especially through Russell's era, not Moffat's because he doesn't like standalones. Most of the episode 4s are the first episode of a two-parter, so I might find myself repeating myself a little bit next week when I do the episode 5s, because of course I'll be doing the second half of the two-parters next week, so I might be repeating myself because technically I'm talking about the same story. So I do apologise if I get a bit repetitive next week, because yes, today most of the episodes I'll be talking about are the first half of a two-part story. But nevertheless, let's begin with the first two-parter that was ever in the modern series, which was The Aliens of London. So then let's begin with, of course, The Aliens of London, which was the first episode in the first two-parter that we got in Modern Who, and the second time we'd been on Modern Day Earth. The first time we came back since Rose, so we were on Modern Day Earth, we got a taste of that, we went to the past, went to the future, and then we arrived back in Earth on the Modern Day, and again, Modern Who was showing off what they could do by getting a spaceship, making it fly right above the streets of London, crashing into Big Ben, and landing in the River Thames. What a fantastic scene that was. But yeah, it literally was Aliens of London. The first time that aliens had invaded Earth, and it was literally the stereotypical alien invasion. You know, in Modern Who we've had aliens infiltrate Earth in loads of different ways, but this was like literally the typical stereotypical invasion. I mean, a ship, a UFO, hits a monument, crashes, and then the government take it away. And, you know, there's rumours about Roswell and all that, but, you know, who knows if they're real or not. But yeah, this is probably the closest to a stereotypical alien invasion that we'd had, and to add to the more stereotypes that we had in this episode, the Slovene looked just like the stereotypical alien, and I know I've said that word a hell of a lot already, but that's the only way I can describe most of what's in this story, stereotypical. Yeah, the Slovene, they're just the typical green monsters, the green aliens with the big face, the big eyes, the small nose, except these were very fat, they smelt. They just, I mean, if I was to describe the Slovene to someone who'd not seen them before, they'd probably laugh at me and think, well, that alien sounds embarrassing. But credit to the Slovene, the fact that they looked quite hilarious, they smelt, which was funny, they farted, which probably made a lot of kids chuckle back then, it still makes me chuckle now, and yet they were still quite spooky and scary. It's just such a great contrast, and it shows how much they work. And to add to their spookiness, I like the way that, and I agree with Tom Dix when he was talking about these in his top 10 monsters, that they were kind of hidden in human suits. I thought that was great because it made you kind of question, if you're walking past any normal person, they could be a Slovene sort of thing. So I thought that was very good. And overall, apart from the typical alien invasion, I thought it was a pretty good story as well. The way that they infiltrated Downing Street, it was just literally, if you want to make a introductory alien story, you get typical looking aliens, make them crash into Earth, make them take the form of humans. It's literally the most vintage alien story ever, but it was perfect for the first modern day alien story that we properly had. So Aliens of London, pretty decent. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Now on to the series 2 episode, The Girl in the Fireplace, and most people will probably jump at the chance to maybe guess that this is my favourite episode 4, because most people, I think, as far as I'm aware, love this story, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, my memory's awful, but in the recent DWM, I think in the 2000s it came 4th, or it might have been like 5th or 6th. I can't quite remember, but it was in the top 10. And honestly, I find it a bit overrated. Yeah, I know, hate me, hit the dislike button, whatever, but I don't see how it's as highly regarded as some people give it. I mean, I like the way that and as always, Moffat just can't write a normal story. It has to be wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. But yeah, I like the way that it showed Madame de Pompadour living out her full life, and the Doctor jumping in at different times. I like that. That was quite good. It showed that the Doctor, uses time to his advantage, and like he's quoting School Reunion. People can wait their entire lives to be with him, but he can't with them. So yeah, it showed the consequences, I guess, of time travel a little bit. And him and Madame de Pompadour got really intimate for some reason. Honestly, Moffat's going to end up turning Doctor Who into a porno soon. And the Clockwork Droids were pretty good. I'm not saying they're outstanding, and I wasn't jumping for joy when they were announced for Series 8. Well, so we think. So yeah, nothing stands out to me that much in this episode. I can understand why people like it, and by no means I hate it. I mean, anyone who hates this episode, I disagree with you, but it doesn't stand out to me to be one of the best in New Who. It's probably up there with the best in Series 2, but when you look at all the other episodes, I think there definitely are better. So, The Girl in the Fireplace, I think it is slightly overrated, so I'd probably only give it a 7 out of 10. Now on to Series 3, where we have, again, another first part of a two-part story, which was Daleks in Manhattan. And again, I'm not that fussed. I know there's this law where if Doctor Who don't have the Daleks in every single series, they lose the rights and it goes to someone else or something like that, it goes to Terry Nation or someone like that, and they can't use the Daleks anymore. I know that's a fact. But I just thought that this was an excuse to have them in Series 3. And I'm not saying it's bad. It's a good episode again, and I think the set design is fantastic going back to 1930s Manhattan. I thought that was absolutely great. And I love the characters that we met as well. I thought they were great, and even Andrew Garfield, who for some reason is now Spider-Man, he was in it as well. So we met some great characters, but I just didn't think the Daleks fit this premise, this setting. I just didn't think it was for them. I mean, I like the way that they had pig slaves and that they were converting humans. Their motives were pretty good, and believe me, I'll get onto the human Dalek more next week. But yeah, for an introductory episode, the set design was good, and it made me feel like I was in the 1930s in Manhattan. I thought that was great, but I just didn't like the Daleks in that setting. The way that they were on top of the Empire State Building, putting Dalekanium on it, it just didn't appeal to me that much. So I think Evolution of the Daleks is a lot better. And again, I'll talk about that more next week. But I just thought Daleks in Manhattan, it was just an average episode that I think if it didn't have a two-parter to it, if it didn't have Evolution of the Daleks, then it would probably be an episode I'd forget pretty easily. So yeah, I think this two-parter is held up by the second part, but Daleks in Manhattan, I could probably only give it a 5 out of 10. Now on to the Series 4, Episode 4, which was the Sontaran Stratagem. Again, the first of a two-part story containing the return of the Sontarans, and a few people dislike this story, and I really don't see why. I think it is a fantastic story. Everything about this I love. I love seeing Martha again. She is my favourite modern series companion, for anyone wondering. And I know if you've already hit the dislike button, you're going to have to unclick it and click it again, because Martha is my favourite companion, and she has absolutely everything over Rose Tyler, because quoting James, Martha had more character development in one series than Rose did in two. And if it was Rose that was in Donna's shoes and saw the Doctor reuniting with an old companion, like in School Reunion, Rose would have been an utter bitch about it. But Donna wasn't. Her and Martha got along very well, and that just shows how much of an absolute bitch Rose Tyler is. Nevertheless, I'm going into a Rose rant. But yeah, seeing Martha again was great, and seeing how she developed into her dream job was fantastic. And you could see by the picture I've got on the screen that the Doctor's very happy for her as well. And seeing Unit as well was absolutely brilliant. I think this was the first time we'd properly seen Unit in Modern Who, so that was amazing as well. And there was a reference to Brigadier. I'm not sure if it was in the Suntaran Strategy or the Poison Sky, when I think it was the Colonel said that he's stranded in Peru, and the Doctor was like, "Give me a Brigadier." You know, it was just a fantastic reference. But yeah, there was just such a classic essence in this story. We had Unit come back. We had the Suntarans returning. We also had the return of an old companion. We had the current companion, and we also got to see a bit more of Donna's family as well. And a lot of people aren't too fussed on the Suntaran design when they came back. I don't mind it, to be fair. And their motive to choke the Earth with all the gas in the cars, that was very good. I love the motive because it's a motive that they couldn't have got away with a long time ago. Because obviously nowadays, with all the carbon monoxide, all the fumes that are screwing up the ozone layer, it's quite a big thing that's happening today in the modern world, which we can all relate to. So I like the way that they put that in Doctor Who. You know, it's great them putting historical figures in, but I also love it when they put a slice of what's happening in the real world right now into Doctor Who as well. So them using the Atmos cars to choke everyone, and use the gas to use it as a feeding planet for them, to clone themselves and everything. That was great. I loved everything about this episode. A fantastic two-parter. So I'd probably have to give the Suntaran Stratagem an 8 out of 10. On to, again, another opening to a two-part story, which is very rare, which we get in Moffat's era, is, of course, The Time of Angels, which was in Series 5. And once again, what a great story. Of course, you all know my love for the Weeping Angels. They're absolutely phenomenal. I don't think they were as good in this as they were in Blink. I do think that they've slowly declined a little bit, because I don't think they'll ever get as good as they were in Blink. And believe me, seeing the recent DWM, I think Blink is very overrated, despite my love for it. But I'll get onto that when episode 10 rolls around. But yeah, Time of Angels I thought was great. We got to see River Song come back into Doctor Who, and it's been something that we've been gagging for a long time, ever since Forest of the Dead. So yeah, to see her back in Doctor Who was great for us all. And yeah, we couldn't wait to see her story unfold. Great to see the 11th Doctor meet her. But what I was more excited was to see him meet the Weeping Angels. And again, they were brilliant in the story. Seeing them in a forest environment, I thought was very good. And yeah, the revelation that they were all the statues inside the caves were actually Weeping Angels was quite a spooky revelation. And I love the scene where Amy's trapped in like a trailer thing, and the Weeping Angel comes out of the screen. It's another Stone Cold classic Weeping Angel episode, and there's nothing much more you can say about that, because the Weeping Angels are pretty much the same in every story. But yeah, the cliffhanger I thought was great. Another great speech by Matt, where he holds the gun up and he's like, "There's one thing you never put in a trap if you're smart." Yeah. So yeah, a great story, and I like the way that the Weeping Angels were using the dead people's voices to kind of taunt the Doctor. That was very deep and very powerful. I think it was Bob. That was the guy who was killed, and Bob was saying, I'm dead. I'm going to break others' necks and all that. It was very powerful. A very spooky Angels episode, and again a strong story with River Song returning as well. So great story. I do think that Flesh of Stone is better than The Time of Angels, but to introduce us into a two-parter, I thought it was pretty good. So again, I'd probably have to give it an 8 out of 10. So now we talk about the Series 6, Episode 4, The Doctor's Wife, and my God, this was a piece of genius by Neil Gaiman.
Oh my fucking God, yes.
Putting the TARDIS in human form is just, what a great idea. I don't know how they've not thought of this before, but we've all taken the TARDIS for granted, I think, over time, especially in the classics. No one really thought of it apart from just something to take the Doctor around here and there. But to give it a personality, just genius. That's all I can describe it as. Absolute sheer genius. And I think Saran's Jones' performance was fantastic as Idris, and as also the TARDIS. I like the way that she was a bit like mental and loopy, but her and the Doctor got along so well. And I know the TARDIS has always been a ship, and we've always been told she's a woman, and we've always sort of laughed at it. But for some reason, seeing the TARDIS in human form is very, very believable. I could actually see how that's the TARDIS, and I absolutely loved it. It's such a great episode. And the ending, where where the 11th Doctor, has to say goodbye, and the TARDIS is just like something I've always wanted to say, hello. It's just heartbreaking, because it just teaches you to not take the TARDIS for granted. because all this time it's been taking the Doctor around, we've kind of forgot it's also a real being that has real feelings and real thoughts. So to see that brought out in a real person, I thought was fantastic, and I don't think it will ever be done again. I think it's one of them stories that can only be done once, but if it's ever done again, I really thoroughly look forward to it. And the 11th Doctor tearing up at the end, Matt's acting was just outstanding when he was tearing up when he had to say goodbye and he was like, please don't go to the TARDIS. It just shows that even though the TARDIS it's always been with him, and that it's still always going to be with him, he's upset because it's going back into its normal form and he can't talk to it anymore properly. And we've never seen the Doctor really show that much love for the TARDIS, and his love really came out in this story. It's just such a beautiful, well-written, thrilling story, and I'd love to give it a 10 out of 10. A few things I wasn't fussed on, like I thought the Ood were in it for no complete reason, so I've got to give The Doctor's Wife a 9 out of 10. Well, that lasted long. Talking about a great episode there, and now I've all of a sudden became extremely depressed by talking about the power of 3.
Oh God.
I just... You see, Series 7 was going terribly, and last week it picked up with A Town Called Mercy, and I thought, right, okay, Series 7's back on track. And then Power of 3 hit, and this episode, I literally would rather choose to just forget it ever existed. It might as well not exist. It didn't have any impact on Doctor Who mythology, no impact on any story arc of any type. It is the definition of a filler. Literally, I don't think there's ever been an episode that's been more of a thriller. I mean, cubes causing people to have cardiac arrest. Jesus Christ. I mean, how long did it take them to think of the plot up? I mean, they must have just been sat there at a desk, and one of them just picked up a cube and thought, cubes. And then someone could probably just walked in. My uncle's had a heart attack. There we go! Cubes causing people to have a heart attack. It's just as bad as dinosaurs on a spaceship. I mean, what were they doing? Putting one and one together? Oh, cubes, heart attack, just shove them together. Dinosaurs, spaceship, throw it together. That's all Series 7 was, to be honest. It was just thrown together. And so this episode was, I mean, it started off well. I mean, I liked seeing the Doctor in a normal life. I thought it was actually quite funny seeing the Doctor bored in the Pond household, because he couldn't sit down for like 2 seconds, he couldn't sit still. I thought that was pretty funny, if I'm honest, and it was going pretty well, seeing their normal lives. Because normally we get to see, them crossing into the Doctor's life, but to see the Doctor kind of landing in their life was quite interesting. But then when the cubes entered, that was it. It was just ruined, completely and utterly ruined. And the ending, do I have to talk about the ending? Saved by the sonic screwdriver. Oh my God, I'm not even going to go there. The Power of 3, and the ending, the final words. I can't remember what it was, but they were like, it is the power of 3. The ending words were so cringy, and the cubes were terrible. The episode was just flung together like they were high on coke when they were writing the goddamn thing. I just choose to forget the Power of 3. And if it wasn't for the Doctor crash landing in their life and saying that at the beginning, it probably would get a 0 out of 10. So yeah, the Power of 3 probably gets a 3 out of 10. So now to conclude my favourite episode 4, to go into my best possible series, and it's probably the hardest decision I've had to make so far, apart from the Power of 3. Of course, we can completely discard that episode ever even happened. To me, it doesn't exist. To me, what the hell's the Power of 3, James? What's the Power of 3?
What's that?
Nothing, exactly. So, yes,
Christian.
apart from, Upon Life was... Anyway, yeah, apart from that abysmal piece of crap, we've got 6 episodes that remain, and they were all very good, all very watchable, all very enjoyable, and it would probably be a toss-up between The Doctor's Wife, Time of Angels, and The Centauran Stratagem, I think, if there was 3. But my favourite, episode 4, has got to go to an episode that is truly unique. It's a genius idea, and I'm glad that Neil Gaiman took this idea and used it to its full potential. He executed it perfectly. Like I said, to see the TARDIS in human form and the relationship with the Doctor is something we'd never seen before, and it taught us to not take the TARDIS for granted, and I've never looked at the TARDIS the same way again. It's got to go to the Series 6 episode, The Doctor's Wife. So before I end this video, let's answer a few comments from last week's episode, which was the episode 3s.
My first comment is from Whovian Doctor 11, who says, how do you create the titles, may I ask? Well, the titles originally, I got the Vortex, I got myself, and the music I chose myself, but the guy who is behind actually creating it for me is, of course, the legend that is Jacob Martin. Before, you guys will have saw that my old Vortex was exactly the same with the same music, except it just had the Movie Maker font, but Jacob managed to edit together using his sheer genius, and yeah, he managed to edit together and make the writing come at you and then whoosh past you, and I put the whoosh sound effect on. So yeah, I'd credit Jacob Martin for that because it's just a fantastic title sequence. Lucy Hughes says you should do a worst possible series. Well, this was discussed quite heavily in the comments below because it was in a comment last week, and a lot of people have mentioned it, saying it would be a good idea. So yeah, I have decided that I'm not going to be doing a series of a worst possible series like this one is going 15 weeks long, but I have already created my worst possible series. So what I am planning to do is at the very end of this series, maybe in a bonus video the week after, I will just show you my entire worst possible series. Not going to bother going through all the episodes again because you'll have already heard me go through them. So yeah, the week after this series has finished, then I'll be going through my worst possible series, just literally getting the chart, putting it on the screen and telling you why I hate each episode. So yeah, that's going to be fun. My third comment is from Chaz Madison, who says, I completely agree with you. Victory of the Daleks, shite. Curse of the Black Spot, shite. Love the rest. One thing I find weird in A Town Called Mercy is that the Doctor was talking to a horse. What do you think of the fact that the Doctor can talk to animals and can speak baby? I think that he can't actually do these things, but is a way of showing that over time the Doctor has become truly mental, which makes him think he can. Well, that's quite a funny comment, to be honest. And yeah, he had a horse called Susan in A Town Called Mercy, and he told, was it the Marshal, to, what was it, respect her choices or something? I don't think it was the Marshal. Whoever he was talking to, might have just been the guy who kept the horses, but yeah, told him to respect Susan's life choices. I mean, I don't think anyone knows if he. I mean, he's always said, you know, even in the serious moments, I speak every language. So I truly do think he can speak every language, but I understand how speaking baby, and babies, all they really do is cry, poo, and cry a bit more, and then maybe poo a bit more. So I don't know if that's, you know, that's like classed as a language. And same with animals, but apparently to the Doctor it is, so we'll never know. But to me, I find it absolutely hilarious. I think it's great. So then guys, thank you for watching this week's video. As always, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and comment below your favourite episode 4 of the modern series. Tell me what that episode is and why in the comments below, and I'll answer them at the end of next week's video, which will be me going through all the episode 5s. But until then guys, I should be seeing you on Sunday for our next live discussion, which will be on issue 474 of the recent DWM that went through the very best of the first 5 decades of Doctor Who, that holds the rankings of the worst story to the best, and we're going to be discussing that, and with Tom in the discussion, it's going to be a very, very interesting one as always, so I can't wait for that. But until then, take care, and I should see you at 8 PM on Sunday live here on Who Addicts Reviews. See you then.